Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya al-mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, we are going back to our Pi-CBT protocol, the flow of IIAS. That means we have discussed in detail about intention and how the Al-Ghazali model start with motif on a macro issue and intention on the micro issue, and then how it affects behavior and consequences. The ABC model within CBT, which we'll discuss later on, but how Al-Ghazali has even a higher intrinsic input to ABC, because ABC model is good, but Al-Ghazali see the whole holistic review of the nature of intention, starting with motive, then intention, then activating event, then behavior, then consequences. Alright, so you can see that even within the Islamic model, we have a better approach than CBT, because we are talking about the whole internalization of the SEMP. That means we are internalizing SEMP. So the first I is intention, the second I is intervention. Alright, intervention here we talk about how we can use bioherbal, biomedical, CBT, MBCT, and then most important is our Pi-CBT approach. This is where our key area that we are going to contribute to the world of positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy. So this is our approach, which we'll repeat over and over again, and I will give you a lot of techniques. There are in fact hundreds of techniques. So if you want to go each and every one of the techniques, for example, you want a specific technique for example, stress management, which is now a very severe problem throughout the world, especially also in the Muslim world, where there is a lot of turmoil and upheaval. People are losing their jobs, there's stress in terms of family structure, transition to new technology, climate change, desertification, and so many stresses that we are living in this 21st century, which is triggering a lot of psychosocial problems. So then we have issues like ADHD, OCD, and so on. So each of them can have a very specific protocol, techniques, which inshallah there'll be a lot of research doing. So I'm just giving you the overview, and later on when I talk about techniques, I'll just give you one by one, which part of it I practice as a human being and experiment around, so that we can have this. Most important is when our intervention here, we must have this whole idea of not only cognitive awareness, but conscious awareness. Conscious awareness can only come about at the level of the SEM, spiritual, emotional, mental. That is conscious awareness. We are talking about cognitive awareness. As I mentioned to you, the difference between conscious awareness and cognitive awareness is conscious awareness extends the realm, especially now with research into mindfulness, the realm of the mind, the realm of the akal, then the realm of the heart, and then the realm of the ruh. So when you have that conscious awareness at this SEMP level, you transcend the cognitive awareness. Cognitive awareness is only brain, body, interaction. Alright? So inshallah, once we are able to develop techniques that bring this SEMP integration, we can have inshallah the best result in the world through positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy. So the first I is intention, which we have explained, then intervention. The next one is A, attitudinal values and transformation and development. This is where when you have intervention, you must develop the attitudinal and values transformation and development, because the individual, if they want to reach the level of self-actualization, they want to be self-actualized, they then must go through this whole process. So the third level is A. So I-A, and then the last one is self-actualization, S. So IIAS. Our approach is very simple. Just remember this acronym, IIAS. Intention, intervention, attitudinal and values transformation, and then self-actualization. And each and every one of it, we can explain in detail, because first, if we are going to be a life coach or a counselor, we ourselves will have to have our attitudinal values and transformation. So for example, I'm going to be trained as a life coach, and I'm going to train others as a life coach. I must inshallah, imbue myself with the same values. So if you want to be a Pi-CBT life coach and counselor, you must have this attitudinal value development. And you go back to the Quran. What does the Quran say? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate. We start the prayer and 70 times a day we say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. What is Bismillahirrahmanirrahim? In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate. So when we talk about the first value that we must imbue in ourselves is mercy and compassion, because mercy and compassion equals empathy. So if we want to be a counselor, we must have empathy. So in Islam, that is already a revelation, an instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalalullah, for us to imbue in ourselves mercy and compassion. So when we have mercy and compassion, we have empathy. So when we have empathy, then we can talk to somebody who has a problem. They have psychological problem, they have stress problem, they have family problem, they have psychosexual problem. Because so many problems in the world that no one person, no one counselor, no one life coach can handle. So we need to specialize, inshallah, for later on when we have Positive Islamic Psychology Counseling Center. We are starting with the lightweight kind of thing. It's more a life coach type of program. Rather than going to hardcore, counselor program, because counselor program you need certification. You yourself must have a master's degree in psychology, and then you can get the certification in terms of Pi-CBT, and then you can integrate the two, inshallah. But the first attitudinal values that we must develop, inshallah, as counselor, as life coach, one is we must imbue ourselves with mercy, compassion, which is empathy. Alright? Or you can call it loving kindness. Alright? The second one is forgiveness and love, because this is also in the Quran. Allah is Ghafurul Wadud. All the time you remember Allah in our sadness, in our difficulties, in our committing evil or doing the wrong things, we say, Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur, Ya Wadud. So when we say, Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur, Ya Wadud, He is the Ghafur, most forgiving, the absolute forgiver. Ya Wadud, love, most loving kindness. So when we imbue ourselves with these 5 values, mercy, compassion, empathy, forgiveness and love, and there will be many other values that we have to work on, inshallah. We ourselves will have to imbue the attitudinal values and transformation for ourselves. Isn't it wonderful? We want to help others to achieve goodness in life and goodness in the hereafter. In that process, we also must be able to develop ourselves, because we cannot have a coach or a counselor having cognitive dissonance. That means what he or she says is not what he or she do, because in the Quran Allah warns that whoever does say something that they do not do, it is not accepted by Allah. So we have to develop it gradually, but don't be afraid of this whole idea, oh, I'm not perfect. Remember, all of us are not perfect. We are all imperfect beings living in a temporary world as a journey towards perfection. So we commit our own sins, our own evil, our own deficiencies, our own little secrets. All of us have it. So just because we have that, we cannot withdraw from the challenges of this life. That means, oh, because I think I'm not good enough, or I am a sinner, or I have done many evil in the past, then I think I just go to one corner somewhere and just do tawbah, do my ibadah and forget about the world. No, that is a defeatist escapism. There are some people like that. They go through life, and at a point in which they can contribute to the world, they just withdraw and just do their ibadah quietly, doing without helping their friends, their relatives, their children or their grandchildren, their community. That to me is not a beautiful way of life. That is defeatism, because we cannot go to heaven alone. If there is problem in the community will then claim back, so and so, he has the ability to counsel these young people who are drug addicts and he's not doing his job. Alright, and he just withdrew and do his ibadah. Then Allah will say to that person, why didn't you move to have to change the situation? Because a community, the Muslim community, Allah tells us, Allah does not change the nasib of the Muslim community unless we partake to change it. That means we must be participating in the positive transformation of the ummah and not participate in the negative development of the ummah, like turmoil, strife, killing, political, aggressive, extremist political ideology, which is not Islam. And then, along the way, we lost our soul, we lost our iman. So it's important for us to remember that when we use this protocol, we are, inshallah, as we counsel others, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His divine guidance that He change us in whatever small measure that we can do to help make this world a better world for all. And we are striving, as I say, we are all imperfect beings, striving to become perfect, striving from the nafs of ammara to lawama, inshallah, to mutmainnah in our lifetime. And inshallah, along the way, we can be a true and sincere servant of Allah, His Khalifa on this earth, always striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, and making the world good, inshallah.